As you're a member of Parliament for North East Manchester, I, of course, have the responsibility to ensure that we can fix as many roads as possible. We do have a constituency development fund, which I established when I was minister the first time around between 2007 and 2011. And from that fund, MPs are able to use some of those funds to assist, as I do. I assist children in high school. I assist over 1,000 children every year with a little contribution to their expenses. As MP, we have social programs. As you know, you have the PATH program, you have retirement programs that people need to get onto, so they come to the MP, and the MP seeks to help them to get onto these various programs, just to make life a little easier, especially for those who are more vulnerable and more compromised. As Minister of Finance, welcome to my friend, colleague, Member of Parliament, Mikael Phillips. He's MP. Mikael is MP from...
Don't say we're Mr. Shaw, you're going to spoil the question, man.
All right, okay.
There's a big quiz question that, you know, man. We're just semi-final part we're reaching, but continue. We'll get to that shortly.
Then now, as Minister of Finance and the Public Service, that's my actual title, Minister of Finance and the Public Service. What is my job? Well, to run the Ministry of Finance. And what does the Ministry of Finance do? It finances government services, right? We have about 14, 15 ministries of government, and each of those ministries has to be funded, right? They have the Office of the Prime Minister. He also has a Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation. That's all at Jamaica House. And we have to fund it. We have to fund the Ministry of National Security for all of the police that are employed to deal with crime. We have to fund our public schools, all of the schools that are owned by government-run schools. In fact, education, after the Ministry of Finance for debt servicing and so on, education is the next largest area of expenditure, over $100 billion. About $104 billion is in the new budget, which starts in April, just for education, right? And then, of course, you have all these other ministries, social security, agriculture, you have right across the board, industry and commerce to assist with businesses, agriculture, you assist with farmers and small farmers and so on, and right across the board. And as Minister of Finance, I have to preside over the finances of the country, make sure that money is being spent properly. You need to know, as young people, you spoke about the Constitution a while ago. Well, the Constitution recognizes there are two ministers that are specifically mentioned in the Constitution. One is the Prime Minister, and the second one is the Minister of Finance. Because the Minister of Finance has what you call a fiduciary duty to protect the revenue of the country, to make sure that the revenue is properly spent and not wasted and not defrauded by corrupt means or anything like that, and make sure that the monies are spent for the purposes for which they were intended. So that is a short summary of what my role is.
All right, thank you. Some of you now know more than you did 10 minutes ago? Yes. That's good. As Gio said, well, we fix your mic. No, we're going to fix it. So we want, as MP Shaw said, we want to welcome another member of Parliament for your parish. As promised, your elected official, Mikael Phillips, is here. And he's going to, yes, who's from his parish? His constituency. All right, there we go. So basically, for those of you who don't know, and for our members of Parliament, this is a youth empowerment through dialogue town hall that we're having across the island. Some young people were trained in governance, the Constitution, and advocacy yesterday. Some were not. And it's about starting the dialogue with young people and members of Parliament so they can understand the process and how governance and government works and how they can play their part to develop their parish. So we want you to continue Dialogue. We're funded by the United Nations Democracy Fund, UNDEF, and we're here, and we want this to continue, after today. So please introduce yourself, MP. Tell them who you are and what is your role and responsibility as a member of Parliament, and tell us the communities you serve.
Good afternoon, and how are you? Good. Member of Parliament Mikael Phillips, as she rightfully answered, the Member of Parliament for Northwest Manchester, which I'm now serving my second term as Member of Parliament. Thank you. Yeah. Right. My constituency by square miles is the second largest in the parish. I think South Manchester is larger than Northwest, and I think Northeast, and then Central Manchester. So part of my constituency borders with MP Shaw, yeah, right? Also on the northern side. So Northwest Manchester, my responsibility really, apart from being Member of Parliament for Northwest, as an opposition member, I am the spokesperson on transport and works. So communities, we span from down by Pepper, you know where Pepper is, down Gutters, bordering with St. Elizabeth. We come into Mandeville, so you have areas like Kingsland, Greenvale, Hatfield, go up into the hills of Medstone, Huntley, come back down to border with Central Manchester, down by where the Mud Lake is, you know, coming down that side. Then we go up to places like Grove Place, Litchfield. We go as far as to Troy, so we border with St. Elizabeth too. With Trelawney in Troy. Then we go to Golden Run. We pass over Troy and then go back into Manchester. And where MP Shaw, myself, border in a area Golden Run. So I always mention to persons that we border 5 constituencies. We have 1 police station down in Cottage. So the Cottage police station polices the largest area by square miles anywhere else in Jamaica, but it is relatively crime-free. So that's...
Yes, thank you.
Yeah,
thank you.
Lot, eh?
Everybody now understands? And did you really get into what is your role and responsibility in serving young people, MP?
Well, I think I can comfortably say, even though Member Shaw holds the purse string, yeah, I think I spend the most out of my CDF on education for young persons. This last financial year, well, I'm talking about CDF, not the additional funds. This financial year closing off, I spent approximately $7.5 million out of the 20 on education. We have a program that we have been doing for the last, this would be its 5th year, but it's closing out now, because where we took 10 students from the constituency itself, where we sponsored them on 100% of their tuition to go to NCU to pursue their degree. Well, unfortunately, 3 dropped out in its 3rd year. The other 2 graduated in August last year, and the rest will graduate this year, because we had to get them to catch up over the summer in some modules that they had to complete. Assisting with tertiary education takes out a large chunk out of the program itself also. But we also run a program with Knox Community College, where we assist young persons that did not achieve any CSEC subjects, and also those who would have just a minimum of 2. And we have been running a program with Knox. This is its 3rd year now. Unfortunately, a little bit disappointing in the outcome of that program. but where we paid 98% of the tuition and the exam fees, and the student would pay the other 2% of that tuition. And they do a minimum of 3 subjects in CSEC. So education is mostly, we have some new programs coming on this year, you know, especially for data processing, since we now have 2 BPOs in the parish of Manchester. I don't want to give out that one yet so that membership don't jump the gun on me still. But it's something that I encourage all MPs to do, because what it is we have a computer lab that was built some time ago, before I became Member of Parliament in the constituency. We've been trying to run some homework programs with it without success. So we're retooling that computer lab, putting in 25 new computers. We're doing some certification in data management in conjunction with HEART. We're assisting the students with a stipend, as HEART would if they were going to the HEART program. But we're just to be able to manage it, we're going after about 50 young persons. We have signed an MOU with Sutherland Global that those 50 young persons would get some on-the-job training there. And if they're satisfactory enough, then there will be guaranteed employment in the BPO sector. As you know, that Sutherland is also looking at a second location here in Manchester, up in Kingsland. We have had some young persons who we have sent to JBDC to learn what we call project proposal writing, so that they can go back into their community clubs and their communities to do project proposals to various government agencies and agencies out there that can help them to bring projects to their community. Also, sports is a big thing. Just this year, I've taken on the sponsorship of one of our parish leagues through the Manchester Football Association. We spend approximately about $1.5 to $2 million out of the CDF on just sports and sponsoring various clubs within the constituency. We have been working on, you know, uplifting our sports. I have only one high school in the constituency, which is Mile Gully High, and we've been spending quite a bit of resources in the youths, both the female and the male football team of Mile Gully High.
MP Phillips, as you elaborated on so many of the initiatives that you're doing, one of the findings yesterday during discussions with our youth in the parish is that, generally speaking, not just yourself and MP and Minister Shaw in this instance, is the knowledge of who their MPs are. Most of our youth don't know or how to access them, or even knowledge of what it is that you have in place already. One of the concerns raised yesterday in the workshop was that there's a perception that our politicians are busy and visible only during election campaign and hardly ever seen afterwards. That was one of the concerns raised. So in terms of accessibility, and I just want to start with you, MP Shaw, Minister as well, and then you answer. In terms of accessibility, how can your constituents get in touch with you? How can they see you? How can they know of the programs that you have?
Well, first of all, when you've been Member of Parliament for 24 years, as I have been, the word gets around, okay, in terms of the support that we provide. So every year in August, parents come to my office, which is in Cristiano, and they register their children for assistance. And we don't, at my office, we don't discriminate, we don't ask anybody what color shirt they wear, or which party they support, okay? It's very important that all parents know that their children, they want some help for their kids, and they just come and register, and we assist that way. I want to use the opportunity to have that question to just mention that we have a program similar, I think, I don't know if Mikael has one like it, but we call it a program for unattached youth. We've just started an experiment. I'm in the second year of it now, where the HEART program, working with Homewood Technical High School, is offering young people who, for some whatever reason, dropped out of high school, didn't complete high school, don't have a skill. So we give them an opportunity to get a skill, whether in welding or in hotel working or home economics, a variety of things. And that program is going very well. But I also want to say that we have in the new budget coming up, there will be a new high school built in Northeast Manchester, because we actually have a school, Christiana High, is on 2 shifts. And I consider it inappropriate that children have to come out, they're school by 7, leave at 12, another batch comes in at 1 until 5 o'clock in the evening. So we want to break up the shift system. And in fact, the decision that we have taken is that instead of building a brand new school somewhere, we intend to add 1,000 additional seats to Homo Technical High School. And there's a deliberate reason why I'm doing that. Homo Technical is a technical high school. It teaches, apart from the grammar and the math, it teaches a range of technical subjects and vocational subjects. So what I've decided to do, instead of finding a green field to build a new high school, which most likely would be a grammar school, I've decided to add 1,000 additional spaces to Homo Technical High School, which will move from 1,400 to 2,400 students, but on 1 shift. And critically, we must work on the whole range of the technical curriculum, because too many of our children are leaving high school ill-equipped for the world of work, okay? And I want to, because I'm going to have to leave here early, I want to say to our young people and to the listening audience, right? You're not too young to take responsibility for yourself.
As you make that point, MP Shaw, just while you're here, and as you mentioned, you're going to leave soon, anyone with a question for MP Shaw, just come and stand right here and ask a question. All right, I'll allow you to ask a question as we allow Mr. Mario Mitchell, who just joined us. He is the councillor for the Bellfield division, representing Manchester Central, which is the constituency for Peter Bunting. Just introduce yourself and tell us what you do as well.
Well, thank you for having me. My apologies to be late. I thought it was a 2:30 appointment. Well, are we speaking about dedication now? As Minister,
wait, I think we just want to, Councillor, we just want to know who you are, because today, because you did just come in, let me just catch you up to speed. Okay. I know you're also representing MP Bunting, who also sent a video to our young people here today. Our young people want to get involved in the government process. So some have been trained, and we're sensitizing them about government, governance, the role that you play, the role that we play as citizens, and how we can have dialogue to improve our country and to improve our communities. So what is your role as a councillor? What you do as councillor? How much money you have for help with? What are you responsible for? And then how do you represent the MP Bunting and his constituency? Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Mario Mitchell. I'm the councillor for the Bellfield division in Central Manchester. I think I'm the second youngest councillor in Jamaica. The other one who's younger than me is about 2 months younger than me in Portmore. I'm a past student of NCU, where I studied communications and politics. And I got involved in youth development by virtue of starting with my own youth club. And then by virtue, I became the Manchester Youth Council President, and I was the first elected National Youth Council President. So I got involved in community development, and then it's a simple transition into politics. So I was doing youth development and some advocacy, and then I moved on into representational politics. Representing as a councillor, I've been a councillor 1 year and about 2-3 months now. I represent the Bellfield division, and I already have 2 legacy projects that you could attach to exactly my accomplishments. Central Manchester is a diverse constituency. It's both agriculture, it's both education, and it's both job opportunities and training. I hear Minister Shaw talking about the education initiatives that he has instituted in his constituency. I would love to boast more than him that we provided over the last 2-3 years 2,000 additional spaces right here on this property at the Mount St. Joseph High School. That's one. Secondly, at the Bellier High School, that's the second one, and also the primary level at the Mackintosh Primary School in the Royal Flat Division, and recently, before that, the Bellfield Primary School was completely redone. We have created 2,000 high school spaces in that capacity. We have created somewhere, I don't know if MP Phillips can give me the exact numbers, somewhere near 2,000 job spaces at Sutherland Global Call Center and Ward Avenue.
Yes, he did mention
Did
that
mention
earlier.
that, and I don't know if he mentioned that we have an additional one coming in his constituency, another Sutherland Global location. At the MP's office now, we have ongoing training. We just trained last month 200 persons.
Hold on, I'm going to hold it there because MP Bunting did send a video where he said some of those things. So I want to hear it from him as we present it to the youth. And we're going to come back to you because we want to follow up with MP Shaw because it's really important that we know. And clap them for having educational activities in each constituency. But we're going to find out more because yesterday the young people told us about some of the issues and the most pressing issues in Manchester overall, according to the young people. And we have other data from national research that we've had. But yesterday, crime and violence, including gangs and scamming, poor parenting, drug abuse, unemployment, access to higher education was a major issue. So we're hearing about all of this, but they're saying it not there. So we're going to have that dialogue. Access to higher education, lack of resources, they said, for youth clubs and youth initiatives, discrimination in the form of bullying. There were the major issues raised yesterday from young people in Manchester. But I know you have to go, MP Shaw, and we're going to continue, Councillor. And we also have our Inspector Wilbert Mills who will speak to us about crime and violence and how we can work together. But we'll continue with the questions to MP Shaw. Giovanni?
Our first question comes from Derek.
Good morning, everyone. Members on the platform.
Good afternoon.
My councillor, Mr. Shaw.
Your MP, Member of Parliament.
This question is to you. Why does the Christiana Police Station only have one service vehicle and that they can't respond to different calls?
Well, first of all, they do have two vehicles, so I'll have to find out what is wrong with one of them.
Oh.
But we'll have to take steps to get it fixed properly and get it dealt with as a matter of urgency. It has not been brought to my attention. You are bringing it to my attention now. I'll check on it, okay?
And you have to follow up with that, Derek. I'm going to throw it to Inspector Wilbert Mills, operations in operations management here in Manchester. Will be able to maybe respond to that as well. Welcome, Inspector.
Thank you, sir. Really the question of one unit at Christiana. No, we have two units at Christiana at the moment. One is being operated by an operations support team, and one which does the domestic. I must applaud the MP because he has been integral in the operation aspect of providing basic tool for the Christiana Police Station, and he was instrumental in a vehicle for the CIB. However, it was involved in an accident some time ago, and so it has been out of service for a month now. We are making effort to have it returned to service as soon as possible. It's not really the call of the MP to repair motor vehicles for a station. It goes to a channel through our transport and repair, and they are the one who are holding us on this one. Thank you.
Thank you.
In terms of impact of that, though, Inspector Mills and the police's ability to respond to emergency calls, how is that? Because in recent times, especially during last year, there was several incidents of violent crimes happening in Manchester, even more than previous years. Does that have an impact? And even it's two vehicles, so okay, say it's more than one vehicle, it's two.
Well,
is that sufficient?
What I must say...
hold on, I think it must be cleared up now, that the officer has cleared up that it's two vehicles that are functioning, not one. So let's take one out.
Yeah, so I'm saying...
CIB one is the one that we need to find out what is happening with
right?
it.
There's still two vehicles.
Two vehicles, right? Yeah. Normally when somebody comes to report a case or somebody had a break-in somewhere, you hear that the vehicle gone to Craig, and after it leave Craig, it have to go to somewhere else. And then the other persons, like for instance in Shudley, are there waiting. So what happened to the other vehicles? Or the other vehicle? Just one up and running.
No,
It is not one that's up and running, sir. There are two
sir,
vehicles running now at the station, and a third vehicle which is dedicated to the detectives. That is the one that apparently broke down and is being repaired. Anyway, we can move on, because what I'll be doing, I want to find out if there's anything I can do to get the third one up and running quickly. Okay?
All right,
There's
so
no need for us to carry on this. It's not.
we're gonna follow up on that one, and you, Derek, can also follow up on that. The third vehicle.
Okay.
And do we know when the second one will be repaired, or that's something that you can take on to?
As I said,
No, but the third. All right. You okay? All right. So, are we satisfied, young person, Derek? We move on to the next question from our young people for MP Shaw, because we have to get through those. Yeah.
Yes, so we had Jessica with her question right now.
Jessica.
Jessica.
Go ahead, Jessica.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone, and a pleasant afternoon to those on the platform. First and foremost, I would like to apologize. Public speaking is not one of my best qualities.
That's okay. Clap around and encourage her. It's okay. That is okay.
Okay, thank you so much for that. I am a former graduate of Northern Caribbean University, and I would like to mention the programs that you had said about at Knox Community College. I've had the privilege of working with some of those students, and I would like to say that they're brilliant, but they're trying. Also, I have coordinated with the persons from Sutherland Global at the BPO fair that was some months ago, and it was a success, and we did have some persons applying for the business management program that they have recently started at Knox Community College. My question to you, Mr. Shaw, is that first and foremost, when a particular party is in power at the time, do they continue programs that were from a previous regime, or do they formulate new programs and policies knowing the cost to put up a program may cost billions of dollars? Do you continue something that was there before, or do you start a new program knowing the funds of Jamaica and what it is at this time?
No, by far the dominant tradition is to continue programs that are working and working well.
Okay.
And I think that is generally the case with both governments.
Okay.
It's because at the end of the day, it's wasteful. It would be a wasteful exercise to abandon a good project. I'll give you an example. The Jamaica Social Investment Fund,
Yes.
which was established by the PNP government sometime in the 1990s, I believe, or early 2000. Huh? Yeah. And it's a fantastic program, and we've continued it and made sure that it's adequately funded, and it's still operating as we speak. And that's a good example of a good program that is subscribed to by both governments.
Okay, thank you so much.
Okay, Shay now has a question. Go ahead, Shay.
Good afternoon, everyone, and to the members on the platform. I have two questions. We know that financially it's kind of hard you have to finance different areas for the economy, but presently there's little to no entertainment for young adults really to think of, like, okay, I can go this place on a Friday or that place, but it's that there's not that much options. Is there any financial way that we can actually get some entertainment fund for young adults?
Well, I think it's a good point you make, and it's one of the things that perhaps, Mikael, for this parish, we can work, and for the whole island, the Social Development Commission. You hear what the name is?
Yeah.
Social Development Commission. I believe that is an area that the SDC needs to take more ownership of, right? Come with a good idea, and we'll find the funding, right? Okay. Because governments have to set priorities. But we're spending a lot of money. $773 billion is the new budget coming up in April. And the one closing now is closing out at about almost $800 billion.
For clarity.
And therefore, what we have to do is we have to come up with him. I think that this point that you're making has a very important edge to it, because you see, we talk about crime and violence. We talk about unattached young people. We talk about young people who are being recruited by scammers, right? Telling them to go call people abroad and tell them how they win lottery and this and that, and scam people of their monies. Too many negative things are happening in our society, and therefore we as a government and using agencies like the Social Development Commission really need to step up and ramp up and give young people a space and opportunity to interact on a civilized level, and not talking about gang membership and lot of scamming as activities, but to think in a productive and wholesome way. And I like the idea that you have and the concern that you have. It's something that we can work together on.
Before though you respond, because I see MP Phillips itching to add his voice to that issue, but Mr. Shaw, is this a call, therefore, to the SDC, therefore, to come to the government with a proper idea for entertainment, especially in this parish, as was raised in this instance? And you're saying that you'll be willing to make the fund?
Yes, and I'm saying it's something that it needs to be explored. Because government, you see, we can't end at school, you know. We can't end with just say, help them to go to high school, help them go to primary school. What happens after that? And I think it's a kind of a social development framework that we need to pay more attention to.
I just wanted to add, because
yes, MP Phillips wanted to respond.
I mean, with the police, there's a very active police youth club, especially in Mandeville here, right? I mean, this weekend I think they have a 10K run. This weekend. Tomorrow, right? I know, because they wanted their check from me yesterday. But also, one of the things though, Member Shaw, with the police youth clubs, if we could, because I know it has been expanded out into communities, if we could get that in conjunction, instead of recreating the wheel, with the SDC and the police itself, to expand those out into the communities and broaden the scope, basically, because that's clean entertainment. Yeah? And I really like the concept of really entertaining, because once you have that and they're engaged, then a lot of what we would then determine as unattached youth will be attached to something, and something that is progressive. Yeah.
To both of you though, how practically then can we move forward from here? So okay, there is a void for entertainment in the parish. Yes, is that so? There's a void for entertainment?
Yeah.
And concerns have been raised, and they're saying, okay, let the SDC come to us. But how do the youth know, or how do the authorities responsible in the parish make that happen?
As a member of the cabinet, I can give you the undertaking that I'm going to have dialogue with the Minister of Culture, Honorable Olivia Grange, under whose direction the SDC falls, right? And also the Minister of National Security in relation to the police youth club. I think it's a great idea. You don't have to go find another vehicle when one exists already, and probably what it needs is to be better resourced.
Young people said that Manchester is for the newlywed and the nearly dead. So by about 9 o'clock every night, Mandeville itself is closed down. But the important thing though is having entertainment that is positive, because you can go anywhere, you know, and find a bar open and something else open at night, but it's clean and positive entertainment.
Okay, I know that Shay has a follow-up, and behind her as well there's a follow-up, but Alexandria Richards has an immediate follow-up to the very issue that you were both speaking of. But before Alexandria asks it, I just want to, in the meantime, Shay, recognize and realize that you need to hold both Mr. Phillips and Mr. Shaw accountable, because I'm saying I'm going to talk to Minister Grange and he will get the process started, and so to get some movements ready. So talk up you, Mr. Fee.
Talk up you.
Go ahead with the question now, Ms. Richards.
All right, so Good afternoon again. I heard they mention that the SDC would contact the Member of Parliament. So I was wondering...
Or the minister who is a part of cabinet, yes?
Yeah. I was wondering, can't the youths like have a committee or something that can actually come up with it, since we know what we want or what we can look forward to? Isn't it better for us as youths then to develop a plan or a plan of action to build our own entertainment event or venue or wherever?
So since the youths are youths and the youths know they want MP, and I say the councillor itching to respond as well. Want to feed them ideas. They must say what I want to hear from them and hear what they want. You first. I want all three to respond. Good question, by the way. Talk up, you, Mr. Fee. Go ahead,
yes,
first.
Myself is in the entertainment industry. I have an entertainment company. But young persons must be able that they have a role to play also. Because, for example, you can be diverse in your offerings in entertainment. Manchester has a very strong track and field now with two people who are from my division. Two people are about 5 minutes away from each other within Nesta Carter and Elaine Thompson. You can have tours, educational tours, sports tours, where you can say you want to come to Banana Ground. You can have nature tours. Manchester is a mountainous country. How does young people impact themselves by having these things that they can do in the daytime? But we must diversify now. I was a former member before the government change of the Entertainment Advisory Board of Jamaica. Kirkvine is one of the proposed entertainment zones in Manchester. So it is now for promoters to come in, because we can't depend on the government to do every single thing. The private sector now must play a role to ensure that we can, and that's an avenue and a revenue stream where young people can look at in terms of jobs and opportunities which they can get into. So for example, you have Kirkvine as entertainment zone. Rebel Salute was started here in the early 90s in Manchester. One of the reasons why it had to move was the lack of what you would call hotel rooms. So it has moved to Ocho Rios, and now it is in Ocho Rios because you have the hotel rooms, and it has moved from a one-day festival. So we have to look at the options and how the thing is set up in terms of entertainment. We don't have enough hotel rooms here. One of the things that is lacking for entertainment in Manchester is because it's the only town that doesn't have a seaside. So that impacts entertainment itself also. So a lot of people will move to those kind of areas when it comes to, but it is a very important issue. It is also known as the education town, because you have the most, different from Kingston, you'll have the most educational institutions. Young persons' attention span are very, very short. But I think both governments or both parties should seriously to look at how to engage young persons and how best to positively impact them.
And who best to answer about the Minister of Finance right now? Young people want to participate. That's the question, Minister. And give her an answer.
No, I think it's an important concern. But the point we're making here is that we have institutions already. We don't have to go create another one. And what we need to do is to have dialogue with the institutions. Both the SDC and the police we have identified already. And we therefore have to find the appropriate mechanisms to get more feedback from you, right? Obviously, when it comes to resources, that is where I have to come in as Minister of Finance in terms of getting the appropriation and, of course, having it approved by Cabinet. But I think the broad and fundamental point that needs to be made is that we have far too many of our young people who are exposed on a continuous and continual basis to negative influence. And that becomes a breeding ground for crime, okay? And that is why, to tell you the truth, the problems we have are so significant, Mikael, that we're going to have to start at early childhood education, okay? Because I speak as a father, by the way. I have 3 daughters, a 37-year-old, she's a doctor roving across the United States, a 30-year-old who is a manager in a company in Jamaica, and a little 8-year-old, okay? And what I want to say is we need an educational system. I'm in dialogue with the Minister of Education. They have started. In my view, it has to be accelerated, because part of our problem is that too many, maybe as high as 40% of our children, when they reach grade 1, they are not functionally literate and able to matriculate at grade 1. And then they go right up the system And then we are surprised. Unattached youth, right? Because they're dropping out at primary school and they drop out in high schools, right? And some of them are neglected in terms of even their ability to recover, right? So these programs and remedial programs and getting SDC more intricately involved and the police more intricately involved through their youth clubs. These are things we are going to have to, we can't just talk about it, we have to resource it.
But final, just
go ahead.
I like the point that was made, not really question, the point is that, and it's a challenge because we are facilitators, especially as political representatives. That's how I see my role too, as a facilitator. And the point you made about the suggestion coming from young persons to us on what it is that you would want for entertainment, I think is one that we should end up on reference. In that you gather as young people, utilizing the police youth club, the SDC, the youth clubs within the communities. If you can come together as a parish, because there are many youth clubs across the parish that the SDC has a part to play in the management of these youth clubs, and put a suggestion to us instead of us making the suggestion as you said. So I'm up for that one.
Do you have a youth club, Ms. Richards, or you're part of a youth?
Part of the Mandeville Police Youth Club, yes.
So that's what we're saying. You as a Mandeville Youth Club, can you get together with all the youth clubs in Manchester? Can you approach the SDC? Has an office in the parish, I'm correct. You go to the parish is what I'm hearing as a quick solution now. All of you get together in a group, go to the SDC, call a meeting with that agency. That agency will then speak to the members of parliament. We have a solution. And then we can create an entertainment plan.
But outside of them, I would prefer to meet back with the young persons.
Interface directly.
No, there we go.
No going somewhere.
There we go.
So how did they get in touch with you now, Mr.
Let's
Phillips?
keep going.
How did they reach you? How did they get in touch with you?
We want your cell phone number, we want your address, we want your office address, you too, MP Shaw. We want to know where to find you and how we can have this follow-up meeting.
Well, you asked the question earlier. I sit in my constituency office every second and third Friday of the month.
Every second and third Friday. What's the address for the constituency office?
That's what I'm going to tell you now. My constituency office is in Mile Gully. But every second Friday at the Greenvale Community Center. Because of the size of the constituency, we keep 2 offices. So second Friday at Greenvale Community Center, and every third Friday at the office in Mile Gully. The contact number at my office is 610-7039. And my email address is easy, mikaelphillipsmp@gmail.com.
Spell your Mikael.
And it is Mikael.
So M-I-K-E.
No, man, see, I spelled it wrong already.
A-E-L.
I tell you that failed from starting. Mikael. That's my personal email address.
So that's Mikael Phillips MP
@gmail.com.
And the officer number again?
610-7039. But I like Member Shaw because, and most MPs, I find I prefer to sit in the office because that when it is very hard for you to be constantly on the road. In the constituency every week. I try and make every Thursday and Fridays my days on the road in the constituency, but it is hard for you to cover, especially the size of the constituency, to cover everywhere every week. So I tend to sit in my constituency office. So I tell persons, if you can't see me on the road, then that is where you come to deal with this.
Ms. Richards?
Yes.
Are you satisfied with the answer now?
Yes, but I have something to add to what Mr. Shaw said. He had stated that the problem usually starts from early childhood, and I agree with you. Earlier, I would like to think, or we're discussing that poor parenting is one of the major causes. So I was just suggesting that when you're trying to eradicate the problem of unattached teenagers, I wish that you also take in consideration the parents of those unattached teenagers. Yeah, that's it.
Excellent point.
Give her a bigger round of applause, man. Big.
Thank you.
Okay. She has a follow-up, and then we have a next question as well, because I know the minister may have to leave soon, and she has some questions that she wanted to quickly ask. We have a second question now, and then we'll take the one behind you.
In terms of job opportunities, usually we know that as you graduate, college or university is mainly rare if you do actually get a job as you are out. But for those who are still in university and still want to support or help their families, what can we do as young adults? Even if we started our own business, in terms of financial support, there's not that much help in financial because of how the economy is. So what job opportunities can we get in university for part-time students, part-time jobs for full-time students who want to actually do something?
Well, here again, it's a process, and communication is always helpful. Mikael has mentioned, I have my office in the town of Christiana, by the way, and the phone number is 964-3300. And the system that I have at the office is that I have, in addition to the councillors, whenever I can't go to the office, there's a councillor who sits at the office as well. And then you also have assigned a full-time person that is assigned to each division, right? So that there's always somebody that you can talk to when you go to my office. Now, the whole idea is that there aren't perfect solutions for every problem. But if you come with a problem, we do our best to try to help to find one. Sometimes we see corporate, private, as you mentioned, Mikael. Sometimes you see corporate sponsorship. Them companies, they say, listen, I have 5 young people here that really need some help, and there's no particular window for them. And we contact a corporate, and they say, sure, we'll assist them. So we have to take the problems one at a time and try to help as best as possible.
I want to go on the point that the young lady made from the Mandeville Police Youth Club.
Go right ahead, man.
The point that you made is an extremely important point, and I want to commend the leadership of the Education Commission led by Trisha Singh, I think, because I know as a council that they have been moving around, and the basic schools, our early childhood, have been revamped, and there have to be some recertification. Which Mikael Phillips has a problem with it, but I think it is overall a good program, but we need some more dialogue on it. In central Manchester, the Member of Parliament, Mr. Peter Muntin, also had a parenting workshop, which we're having one for this year. That is something that I find significant, because we would have parents at the end of the graduation ceremony. We'll have a 6-week program. Parents would graduate in terms of a workshop. I remember last year, parents apologizing to their kids, because you would have parents who would tell young people back then, that you're black like, you're coming like, you're worthless pooper, and you're this and you're that, and whatever the case may be. That is actual abuse, That is actual abuse in terms of the way how sometimes parents and adults speak to children. So the parenting workshop is a very important point. We have one every single year, which is a department from NCU, the Behavioral Sciences Department, that comes down, and we have our parents from each division, and they graduate from a ceremony. And as I can tell you, somebody cried last year when they apologized to their kids to say that they have been abusing them, but they did not know. So sometimes it's the educational level of the parents. So you, as educated young adults now, must also ensure that we do that. And I also want to add, Minister Shaw wants to
I just want to join you on that one, because the IDB, the Inter-American Development Bank, actually just completed a study on education and human development in Jamaica. Because, a lot of people think our greatest crisis is murder, our greatest crisis is the economy. The greatest crisis we actually have in Jamaica is a crisis of human underdevelopment. That's the greatest crisis, right? And I said at Homewood yesterday at Jamaica Day, I said to the children that when the musicians, the Jamaican singers, they're singing on the radio and you dance and I enjoy it. And when I talk about the gal them this and the gal them that, that's being disrespectful. And that sort of thing is, you see, the cleaning up has to take place all over the place, including our performers and the lyrics that they use, which are, in that case, is a disrespectful lyrics to our young girls who are our future mothers, right? And that sort of thing. You see, a whole heap of cleaning up has to be done in this country, believe me. And it starts with every one of us, our individual comportment, our sense of responsibility, our sense of duty. And if we have a friend that is doing something wrong, saying something wrong, wanting to guide you into inappropriate behavior, you must be the one to stand up and say, don't do it, that is wrong. And that is antisocial. And that is why the poverty, you know, that we have, the poverty starts in our mind.
MP.
If we want to be prosperous, if we want to move from poverty to prosperity, we have to deal with poverty thinking in our mind first. We must start to think a different way and appreciate ourselves more as God's gift to the earth. That's what we must do.
Quickly though, I will have a question, another question from the floor. I want to get as many as possible from our youth, and she has been there for quite some time. I'll have her ask her question right now, but I can't help but ask this question. You mentioned behavior and the behavior of the entertainers, but the behavior as well from the leadership of the country in the parliament. For the behavior not as good as well in Mr. Charles Mikael, Phillips, Paul pointing at you as well. You have to take some of the blame as well where that is concerned in terms of your own behavior in the parliament. And here he is. You never watch parliament with how they behave in the parliament as well? Or you feel like the political leader should do better with their own behavior as well?
Yes. I want to come in there because this is a very important question, because those of you who want to study politics and political science, when you look across the world, in some places, you know, they thump down each other in parliament, but the community doesn't have the same problem. So the question is, do we need our politicians in parliament to change their behavior because of the issue that we're having in our country? Do you think that will actually change? Question though, because it's a real question. If it changes in parliament, and I don't know how many people watch what happens in parliament, but we do see it on the news. Do you really think it will change the behavior of our people if it changes? Do you? And that's really the question to ask.
Well, actually though, I think that generally members of parliament are respectful to one another, even across the floor. Yes, no, it is a fact. I don't think you should create a problem where none exists, right? The way we comport ourselves across the floor, I believe, is quite respectful and quite, it doesn't mean you don't have a little, somebody drawing your tongue sometime or something like that. But
well, as I would say,
Mr. Phillips, do you think though that there's an issue in terms of the behavior? There are times when comments have been made on a serious level that persons have to call for persons to withdraw comments, very, very serious, disrespectful comments made in the parliament. And I don't think it's that little of an issue, because as you mentioned the point, everybody has to make noise and say yes, because it's something that they see over the years repeating.
Well,
do you think we need to address that?
Mainly why the request for withdrawal of the comment, because it doesn't stand within the standing orders of Parliament, and it's not really that. One second. It's not that it is abusive in a way. Or it may be inappropriate, but the recurrence or the regularity that what you speak about happening in Parliament compared to what happens in our society, I wouldn't say that there's a definite correlation on because of the behavior in Parliament, our society behaves in a similar way. Again, it comes back to a point. No, we need to lead by example. That there's no doubt. I will not argue that point, right? But it comes back to the point of parenting. It's like a young lady asked me the question. I had a similar interaction with some young persons within my constituency just this week. And, a young lady came up to me and she said to me, how is it that in her community can we as political representatives help to encourage young ladies not to get pregnant too early. Now that is a similar situation like domestic violence. Something that you can't really, I have an incident with 2 sisters in my constituency got pregnant at the same time for the same boy. Now, how our political representative going to deal with that, I don't know. But again, I think, and when I said I'm not totally convinced or I am convinced of the work that the education, that EC thing does. But for a school to spend the money to get certified, a school going to have to, basic school this is, you have to spend about $2 million to really, it's just really the infrastructure and safety that it deals with. But what I would love to see, once these schools get certified, they get another trained teacher. There's some support from the Ministry of Education apart from paying one teacher. So it doesn't become just a daycare center, but a learning institution, so that when the students leave those basic school, we have too many students leaving basic school, and when they get to grade 1, they still don't get up to grade 1 reading until they reach to grade 3. That's right. So, if we don't deal with that and the values, and I say that we're all responsible for ourselves, but those of us who have some values need to instill some in the person next to us that don't have any. But to set a correlation what happens in Parliament and what happens in the society, I think there's much more happening in the society that causes that than what happens in Parliament.
We have to move on to some questions from the floor, but let me just suffice to say that, and I'll just ask a general poll right here. Do you have a problem with our members of Parliament or our parliamentarians behave sometime? Yes or no? Yes. And so it is hard then to ask you both to judge yourselves to say, okay, because both are saying, okay, we don't behave so bad, and it's okay, it's a little here and there.
If you were to give an actor's award in Parliament, I would give it to Member Shaw.
Well, you're doing pretty well yourself.
Let us move right along because just introduce yourself on the question, please.
Good afternoon. My name is Kadia Sparks. Good afternoon to people on the platform. My question is directed to Mr. Shaw. My grosses is not directly with you, but as an extension, because you hold the wallet of the Jamaica. So my concern, question, or complaint is for MP Michael Stewart, but he's not here yet, and I'm a member of the Southern constituency. It's called Fisheries Land Settlement Area, and this is about the community lack of basic infrastructure, meaning we have no light. May come as a surprise to people in this modern area. No potable water and absolutely no road. I think Mr. Phillips might be familiar with this community.
What area is that?
Fisheries. It's the land settlement area.
It's on southern.
Yes, southern.
And
yes.
when you say you have no light, you mean there is no
There is
electrification
no
at all?
electricity.
There's no infrastructure at all. But
Exactly.
we can.
There is a complete lack of infrastructure. Okay, several community members has raised this issue with the former MP, Mr. Peart, and nothing has corrected this issue. We highlighted it with our councillor, who did nothing. So what will, as I said, it's not directly towards you, but
well, since she said she was directing it to me, so what I suggest that you do, because we do have a rural electrification program going, and it's now called NESAL, is it not NESAL or something like that? But anyway, what I'm suggesting that you do, you can send me an email to Audley F. Shaw, F as in friend, Audley F. Shaw at gmail.com.
Sorry,
All right, hold on. I don't know what the laughter is about, All right. So hold on.
This has been one of the most humorous town halls we've had so far.
Empress, let me say what my middle name is, okay? Fitz Albert. Audley Fitzalbert Shaw, all right? So anyway, it's audleyfshaw@gmail.com.
But can
Okay?
I just
I'd like you to send me the information on that particular district.
Okay.
Where you are telling us that everything from
Sir,
road,
and this has been
water,
going on for 21 years.
electricity, everything. And
21
I will
years.
discuss it with Mr. Stewart, the member of parliament. Okay?
Can I just
Yes.
on that, as you heard, as she said, it's called land settlement. It is actually reclaimed land from the bauxite. There has been an issue of the transfer of that land, of those lands, because I think that is the area where was also proposed for the courthouse. Yeah? So what the approach that needs to be taken, and I think I'll also speak to MP Stewart, is since there is no plan to put the courthouse in that area, a playfield was given to the community, but there's no access, real access to the community itself.
There is no playfield.
No, I said a playfield was proposed and supposed to be donated to the community. Nothing was really
Nothing
done.
was-
No.
nothing
I'm
is done.
agreeing with you.
We have no community development in
There,
place.
because there's no real land titling to the area.
Excuse me,
which
sir,
is
as
which is the point I'm making, my dear, in that the step really needs to be taken.
By whom? By our MP or by the citizens?
No, I'm saying by the MP and by the state itself in regularizing that property.
Sir, how long will this take? Because this has been an issue for 21 years, as I have stated.
The reason
And we have been back and forth
No.
with our councillor.
the reason
with
why that
parish
land,
council.
the reason why that lands were not was, or the attempt to regularize it, is because government itself, government was going to be using that piece of property to relocate the courthouse from here. The tax office, it was supposed to be a center for tax office, for courthouse, hence why the lands were not regularized in lotting it up. Yeah, out at Kingsland. No, it is. So I'm saying that since that is no longer on the table, right? Then the effort to lot it up and to give it to the sell it to the residents or what, or put in infrastructure is something, because quite a few residents live over on that area.
Okay, Minister Phillips.
But just to say, it is something that, and I give you my word, that I will have words with MP Stewart
Sir,
in putting
I'm
the process
sorry,
together.
but you can understand my lack of confidence in our MP, because we've had one before who did nothing. So your word is, it doesn't hold water just at this moment.
All right, send me
I
the
understand,
email. Send me
but
the email.
as I said,
I will,
it's all
sir.
what I can do.
We'll try.
Thank you.
So we'll have the necessary
Yeah.
follow-ups. Thanks for that question. Very important, very real issue-facing persons. I had no idea there are communities in Jamaica without light and water, both on road. That's actually very shocking. So very important issue that we're going to have to follow up. Frederick, just to indicate to our panelists here, persons responding, just keep the answers as concise as possible so we can get in as much more from our youth and within the allotted time, all right? Frederick now has a general question. Go ahead, Frederick.
Yes, just a general question. Good evening, pleasant good evening to everyone within the reach of my voice. Just a general question. Why aren't politicians advocating for the constitution to be taught in high school, whether as a curriculum or to desensitize students that are passing through the education system?
Repeat the question. Just repeat it. Ask the question again.
The Constitution in
All right,
schools?
so let me just ask it again. Why aren't politicians advocating or lobbying for the constitutions or civics to be taught, to be implemented in schools, specifically the high school level, whether to introduce it as a curriculum to desensitize youths generally?
Well, you know, I think now that you mention it, it raises an interesting point, because when I was coming up in primary school, we had civics. We had civics class, and in fact, there was it was not the, what you call it, the high school exam again, what's it called? CXC. It wasn't in the CXC curriculum, it was actually in primary school. And then we had an exam called the Jamaica School Certificate or something, and you had to take civics as a specific subject in it. And in that civics course were some aspects of the Constitution, not exhaustive, but at least a nominal introduction. And I can't for the life of me understand why civics has been removed as a subject. And maybe you're right, sir, we need to revisit that.
Yes, because
and along with revisiting civics, we need to revisit looking at making the Constitution be part of formal general training in schools.
Okay, just to
because what's important about that, you know, is that it helps to give ownership to people who understand that, listen, I'm a citizen and I have rights.
Yes, and
learning about the Constitution will help to reinforce in your own mind and in your heart that you are a part of a family called Jamaica.
Yes, that's
and you are entitled to rights, right?
Yes, that's the foundation of my question, because clearly, as a Jamaican, not many people know what is a Jamaican or who is a Jamaican or what it means to be a Jamaican. So I truly believe in the Constitution and the knowledge of the Constitution to be taught at the earliest age possible.
I undertake, sir, to discuss it with the Minister of Education. I think it's a good point you're making.
All right. Yeah, last but not least, just a tiny question. I don't see you with a book and a pen, so will you remember everything that has been mentioned today? I was just mentioning, I don't see you with a book and a pen, so I was just wondering if you remember all of what has been mentioned today.
No, it's all right. My memory is pretty good still.
Okay.
But here's what you do, Frederick. I want you to do what he asked Miss Kadia to do as well, which is to send him an email at audleyfshaw@gmail.com.
That's right.
So do send him an email to remind him. So if you doubt him, go remember, as Kadia said, should doubt the answer or the commitment from MD Phillips.
Shoot the email.
Send him an email. So you have a paper trail. So moving on quickly, let's get another question from Oshin. This time, go ahead with the question, Oshin.
No, I'm not here to do a question, but I'm here to do a speech.
This is unique.
My name is Asheen Ho. I am 18 years of age. I attend Knox College, and I'm residing in Manchester currently to go to school, but I'm originally from St. Anne, Douglas Castle, St. Anne. Great leaders don't set out to be a leader. They set out to make a difference. It's never about the role, always about the goal. Quoted by Lisa Hayes. So I asked the question, who is a leader? According to Mustafa 2006, a leader is a person who influences a group of people towards the achievement of a goal. Thus, leadership is a process whereby an individual influences a group of individuals to achieve a common goal. Distinguished members of Parliament and to my fellow audience, I extend a pleasant afternoon to you all. I stand here today in the sole purpose of advocacy. Yes, advocacy. I stand here for the people entangled in pain. Oh, I stand here, for whose souls and hearts are broken. I stand here today for those who rain tears because poverty, unemployment, crime and violence, and other unjust issues plague their minds. Before I continue, I want to congratulate our members of parliament for some of the tremendous jobs that they have done thus far. I am not here to tarnish anyone's reputation, but I'm here to say what can be done. Can't you see we are in a revolution? Just can't you see? According to the Gleaner, Jamaica closed 2017 with 1,616 murders, and the first 6 days of 2018, 38 murders was recorded. It is also said that Jamaica has one of the highest crime rates in the world. Leaders, you need and must gain back the trust and the attention of your people that you have lost, so that you can restore and maintain peace and order. Engage your people in whatever decisions you take. For example, the National Identification System. Before it was an act, it was a plan. Hence, getting the citizens of Jamaica involved and aware by providing a forum to express such ideas would have made the aim much productive and easier to achieve. It is not what you do, but how you do it. Additionally, one must understand that the ancient buildings needs to be preserved, and as they represents where we are coming from and show where we are today. For example, the whole courthouse in Mandeville, though the roof was adjusted, that is not enough. Hence, further improvement must be implemented. Bear in mind that I am educated about the fact that we don't have adequate money and resources to meet all these demands, but I'm also aware of what can be done to mitigate our existing problems, and this leads to our tourism industry. Our tourism industry can be improved. As a matter of fact, it is mandatory for our tourism industry to be improved. For instance, generating new dishes, adding to the nature, making it more attractive, be more sophisticated and entertaining, use more of our ancestral culture, use our skills to formulate new ideas, create international competitions and forums to host in our country. In other words, engage the world. Use of our ideas to move forward, and not just the idea from your colleagues, and not just the ideas from your colleagues to go on. And the list could go on and on and on. The key message is that with money, you can achieve all. With money, the world can go around. A thought came to me as I contemplate these issues. Be not afraid to be an eagle, as we were born to soar for higher heights. We will rise. Let us rise. Let us rise. Rise as one. Emancipate yourselves from mental slavery. Right? And I don't want to say this off the paper. I want to say this from deep within. Why can't we be the core instead of the periphery? Why can't we use our bauxite to develop ourselves instead of selling them to the first world country? The first world country use what we have to develop themselves, right? We can use what we have to push ourselves forward. Take back what they have taken from us or took from us, what our ancestors have toiled for. We need to claim we have the ideas, we have the people, we have the power. It lies within us. And I think that this is the way forward. I thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, that for you was Osheen House, perhaps our next second female prime minister in the making. Give her another round of applause, please.
Yeah!
Talk up you, Miss Effie.
Talk up you.
Boy, I hear she talk with a fire like Nanny. Moving right along.
Sorry, Joe. I want to know if the MPs want, or any of the elected officials and inspector, if anybody would like to respond to that speech.
Well, I can say a few words. First of all, quite a leader in the making. Congratulations. Very nice. I want to mention a few things, some of the things of concern that you mentioned. One of them, yes, youth unemployment. The good news is that youth unemployment is actually increasing. And
decreasing.
Pardon me?
Unemployment is...
yeah, employment is actually increasing. Unemployment is going down among young people. Over the past 2 years, we've actually seen a fall in the unemployment rate from 12.7% down to 10.3% right now, with a total of over 60,000 additional jobs that have been created. So we're going in the right direction, not fast enough, but remember that in tandem with the fall in unemployment, we have to train more young people and train them more aggressively. Mikael mentioned the business process outsourcing sector. It's growing nicely. We have Sutherland, and you have another one now that out at Spurtree, the old Bell, Sutherland will be out there as well. And we are targeting some additional training in Northeast Manchester, where I'm hoping to actually use one of the old government facilities to establish a heart training center up there. That will be for the whole parish, but we'll also emphasize BPO training, so we train more of our young people to be able to get jobs in that sector. So you mentioned the courthouse and the fact that it's inadequate, and we agree. And we are now actively seeking a location in Mandeville where we are going to put the courthouse facilities along with the tax revenue departments, because that is also inadequate. So we're going to find an appropriate place and put the two of them on the same general compound. We're working on that. But I want to say, you know, that we must all remember, if you don't forget, if you don't remember anything else, remember one thing. This thing is not about Mr. Honus or Mr. Phillips or your MP creating magic by snapping our fingers. That's why I used the term earlier. Every Jamaican must take responsibility if we want to build a better country, okay? All of us has a role and a responsibility to do that. And that is why we have said, Mikael has said it, and I'm repeating it. If you see inappropriate behavior, if you listen to inappropriate things being said, take an opportunity to disassociate yourself from it. Take an opportunity to correct some of your people who might just be misguided. And believe it, some people say things that they don't even know that it's inappropriate. Don't accept it, because if you accept it, then it becomes part of a negative spiral that is not good for our country, right? And I want to say to all of you that there's a song I actually sang yesterday at Homewood. And I want you to, I'm singing for you now, I want you to listen to the words though.
Before you start, just get out on the phone and everybody record this, because it's going to go viral. Go ahead now.
No, I want, because listen, it was made popular by Roy Hamilton many years ago. And he says, when you walk through the storm, hold your head up high. Right?
Mr. Shaw, they say you have to sing, you know, you have to stand up and sing and perform it.
Me not standing up. When you walk through the storm, hold your head up high and don't be afraid of the dark. At the end of the storm is our golden sky and the sweet silver song of a lark. Walk on through the wind, walk on through the rain, though your dreams be tossed and blown. Walk on with hope in your hearts, and you'll never walk alone. You'll never walk alone. Walk on with God in your heart, and you'll never walk alone. You'll never walk alone.
Minister Shaw, are you a supporter of Liverpool? Because I do watch English Premier League football. Is a Liverpool song that, uncle? That sounds, you're a football supporter? Importantly, moving right along now, get Jesse Williams.
But before, this now is a new, for the tourism, as you said, the product, that when he loses the next election, he has employment in the tourism.
All right. I like it. Manchester Youth, I like the energy. It's different. Yes. We've been to 7 parishes before here. This is different. It's more interactive. We have speeches. We have songs from politicians. He was supposed to leave from 2:30 and him there till now before wrap up. So clap on yourself in the meantime. Clap your representatives in the meantime. And we'll love the interactiveness of the dialogue. Jesse, your time with the question. Jesse has 2 questions, one at a time. Go ahead, Jesse.
Yes, good afternoon again, everyone. My name is Jesse A.Z. Richards, and I have 2 questions, one for MP Phillips and one for Minister Shaw. All right, so I'll ask MP Phillips first. I'm a young man, I'm a young, hardworking man, and I pay my taxes, and I do drive, but the roads are, not the best. They cause me to be spending a lot of my salary just fixing the car. I had to sell the previous one, get another one, running into the same problem again. That's not good. I'm sure I'm not the only person who endures this problem, and I'm specifically speaking about Greenvale, Top Greenvale to be more specific. I've seen some work done in Bottom Greenvale, which I'm glad to see, even though I don't drive on those roads. I do think it's good that, the conditions of those roads have been improved. So my question is, when can I see some work being done in Top Greenvale so that I can go to work in peace? And not pieces.
Yeah. Well, what you're seeing in Bottom Greenvale is a specific project. Okay. Now, to answer the question on when, and if I'm to answer you honestly, is that I can't tell you when you will see any repairs being effected as yet.
Okay, but there are plans to...
No, let me explain why.
Okay.
The roads are, especially Top Greenvale, and we have tried our best to try and maintain them as we get resources. Now, as Member of Parliament, the only guaranteed funds that we get is the Constituency Development Fund, which is $20 million a year. That, to do road maintenance out of that, will leave projects like the educational projects that I spoke about earlier, the project with the HEART and the BPO, you would have to basically cut the resources for those. There was a program, or there's a program, and maybe MP Shaw can help me to answer, which is now the HOPE program, which we usually get, over the last couple of years, it has been down to only 10 million. We used to get anywhere between 20 to 30 million a year that we used to use for the maintenance of the roads within, well, certainly Northwest Manchester. As you would have seen, Hatfield Primary, the last one that we got, because what we have used them to do is to do road maintenance, but also to effect repairs to schoolyards, as we have paved out all of Hatfield Primary schoolyard. I am not sure, because I'm not really seeing it in the budget, if we're going to be getting another one of those hopes or two within the next financial year. The hope, not the construction part that came out of Mid-P, the 10 million that we used to get. So as the new budget comes in, I don't know what programs are going to be in effect. That section that you're speaking about in Top Greenvale, the councillor and myself have been in dialogue, and normally we get some assistance from the asphalt plant, S&G. So it is an area that we're looking at now. What you're seeing in Bottom Greenvale is a program that we got some resources from TPDCO. It was originally to be for community-based tourism project. In this last tranche that we got, we were able to use it for community intervention and community development. So, you know, because of the stigma with Greenvale, when I say Greenvale, I both top and bottom.
Okay.
Right. So if there's another program like that in the next financial year, we plan to do George Reed and Top Greenvale as part of that Hatfield area, because what we wanted to do, because of the stigma, to try and change the look of the area. One, to get persons to start thinking differently about their communities, or the community that they live in. But the challenge is, because we're at the end of the financial year, going into the new financial year, we're not yet versed on the programs that will be for the road maintenance. But as we go along, we're going to be doing some work there.
Okay,
all right, MP Phillips. Before I ask another question, just say, Shanice, who is just behind it, had an important question. It's related to Greenvale as well, and it's also related to crime. Greendale, sorry. So it's pretty much Greenvale, yes, the same issue, and we do want to get a response from the inspector on it. So go ahead with the question, Shanice, that's related.
All right, but just if I may, just to wrap up what Mr. Phillips is saying. Well, personally, I would really like to see that something is being done, because the road is getting progressively worse, and that's not good.
Yeah. And it started happening since the last set of rains, really.
Yes.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. I must commend my MP for his work that he's doing. He's really working hard.
Who is your MP?
Mikael.
Mikael.
Yes, he's really working hard. However, as I progress from basic school, to primary and high school and even college now, the boys who I travel with from then to now, I realize they're not with me. None of them are with me. They're either in gang violence, or they're the ones who are committing the murders and the robberies in our community, Greenvale. What are some of the projects that you are putting in place, sir, as the MP, to help decrease the high rate of young men in our community being participants in these type of activities?
Well, one of them was really the educational program with Knox. It really came out. We conceptualized that program. One was really to engage young men so that can further their education. The challenge that you're having in that area is a little bit of the scamming. Yeah?
Right.
Now, I don't know, as political representatives and the police itself, there's no program that I can see at this point in time that you can create to engage a youth who used to probably earn $5,000 every now and then to earning hundreds of $1,000s in the same week. It is something for me that is of concern. We try to use the sports because as you speak about top Greenvale, I remember the days when I came to Northwest Manchester, top and bottom Greenvale were, even though one community, but it is dubbed top and bottom because there were a line of demarcation, and we used sports to bring that together, which worked. We're still engaging some of them in sports, but to tell you the truth, if I'm to be honest, I have not yet come up with a solution that can engage those young men to take them away from crime to doing something that is more positive. I've not come up with one, and it is not an easy fix to that solution.
Perhaps Inspector can shed some light on that?
First of all, let me say I have no magic wand. But I'm happy the way you coined the question, because most of the time persons believe that crime and violence is a police issue. However, it's not, and it's neither a political issue. No. We lost the ball long ago. 1951, when we had the Kendall crash, it was because of youth behaving in an unruly manner. The leaders then did nothing about it. Later on, we threw out civics and how we operate as a society out of school. Today, we are reaping those missteps. Crime, the root cause of crime is not something that came about yesterday. And when the MP referred to a person earning hundreds of thousands of dollars a day, it's all because of greed. And until we find a way where we can get people to realize that one will have to work for an honest bread, our society is not so structured where people believe in a quick fix mentality. Right. And that's one of the problems. It's unfortunate that you were, at your tender age, are able to recognize that the boys who started school with you are no longer with you. And it's very unfortunate. However, where do we start? We'll have to start from the community. Maybe when you pass some of your fellow classmates on the street, maybe you'll need to say something to them. Ask them why they are not there. When you look at this forum this afternoon, the females outnumber the males. True. And it's just like that in society wherever you go. The Jamaica Constabulary Force and the JDF today needs persons. But what we have, for every 1 male that passed the exam, 10 female pass. Ouch. And what we are having, the females are going places, but the males are quick to catch on to scamming. I don't know how they do it. But they are not bent on learning a trade or doing something that is worthwhile. However, it's a concern that we share, and we share it with you, and we are trying our best to see how best we can remedy the situation.
Thanks so much, Inspector. Just final questions from Theory there. We have a few more issues regarding crime that were raised yesterday, Inspector, that we want to touch back on. Okay. But some persons have been standing for quite a while. I know Shanika had a question as well. But I just want, you have a follow-up,
yes,
Shanice?
I have a follow-up.
And then the final question from Jesse before he leaves, and then we'll take the final one from Shanika, because we know we do have to leave. So just a final 10 minutes right now, all right? We have to wrap up. Go ahead, Shanice.
Okay. As Inspector rightly said, if I could sit down and speak to some of the boys, I have. What I had done it with a past lecture at Church Teachers College. What we did, we compiled some surveys, and we went out to a little section in my community, and we asked the boys, or males, sorry, who were there on the street side, you know, smoking, who were there, some of them playing ball, some of them just sitting there doing nothing. And we asked them, why is it that some of them are not in school? Why is it that some of them have turned to these criminal activities? And basically what they're telling us is that because of unemployment, because they can't go up to the tertiary level because of financial restraints. Some of these things are their concerns. Some of them are asking for jobs to do that they can do in the community or anywhere they can get some jobs, because even those who would rather turn to scamming ask for a better alternative.
Let me just give you an example.
In fact, that would be 63% of, 67 rather, from our survey, Minister Phillips. And in fact, a combined total here, many of the issues, almost 100% of the youth, when you put them together, those are some of the issues related to job opportunities after leaving school. So that's 67%. Limited social spaces, 23%. So they don't have anything to do, as we were mentioned, in the whole entertainment.
Let me give you an example of the program that I have initiated with Knox. On an annual basis, and this is my final year of that program. On an annual basis, when we try to get persons to sign up on a program, just like for last year, September, 163 persons sign up for the program, but only 13 turn out, with me paying 98% of the fees.
Wow.
13. I have not had a year that I have had. The first year was 23. This year, 13. And only 7 still left in the program. Yeah?
Wow.
When you find opportunities for them, I don't know, because my father grew me up to say, make the first step. As I have always said to the young persons within my constituency, think about what it is that you want to do. When you think of that, come to me, I will find a way to facilitate it. But it can't be for me to think for you.
Sure.
Find a way and then force you to go do it. So, you know, in a sense, sometimes when I hear about there are not opportunities, there are opportunities out there. Why is it that you are not doing the same thing? You understand? And it is just for persons to want a different, and one of the challenges that I find also, and I don't know, MP Shaw, when we have a lot of our graduates that when they graduate from university, they don't want to leave the parish of Manchester. Now, we see, and it is something that I have an issue with heart. They train, or well, the persons who do this program, they do housekeeping per se. But then when they do housekeeping, you have 2 small hotels in Manchester who can't employ the amount of persons. And when you say to them, have you applied for a job in Montego Bay or Ocherus? Them say no, because them don't want to leave Mandeville.
But they might forgo Montego Bay or MP.
No, whichever way, but the jobs are not, it's not going to be here. Mandeville, the only industries that you really, when you had bauxite, it created much more employment within the parish itself. But you have the BPO sector, and I hear MP Shaw, yes, and I commend the government for the efforts in lowering the unemployment rate. But we have to get to a stage of creating jobs that are higher paying jobs. Because we have too many in the category of low wages that at the end, before the end of the month, they still can't find their way. And I mean, second week. This is a step in the right direction, but we have to start looking at higher paying jobs, right? Because we have too many of our tertiary students who are in the BPO sector who still not making their way. You understand? But as young persons, and if you are living in the United States of America, it is normal for somebody who live in Florida but finding a job in Washington or in New York, because that is where the job is. And you have small employment sectors here in the parish of Manchester. And it is growing because the BPO sector is one, but we just have to grow it a little further. But you have to look outside also of the parish if it is that you want employment, and not saying that there's nothing to be done.
So my question is for Mr. Shaw. All right. With regard to investments into the country, she mentioned something in her speech about tourism. So many of the hotels, what social impact do they have on Jamaica itself? Money is coming into the island, tourists come in, they spend all the money at the hotels. But how much of that remains in the country? And what are those hotels doing to actually develop, their immediate surroundings? And what plans, does the government have for investment into Jamaica?
The short answer. The short answer is not enough is retained in the country.
Yes.
And it's an area that we are focusing on. We have established a tourism linkages committee that is working on different ways to ensure that we add more value from the tourism product to the local market. For instance, small farmers. Do you know that only 5% of the agricultural produce that we produce in Jamaica is sold to the tourism trade? Only 5%. Now that is bad. You can't be flying in the tourists on the plane and flying in the vegetable as cargo, right? Or shipping it in to use it in the hotels. It's unacceptable. But we have to produce more and better quality and on a more consistent basis, and then work with the hotels to make sure that they purchase more locally produced, whether primary agricultural goods or manufactured goods. Same thing on the manufacturing side, including processed foods, by the way. So it's something they are actually actively working on now, because it don't make sense the tourism industry is growing, but the retention and the linkages into the rest of the economy is not there. It doesn't make any sense.
Right. There's a concern as well as a follow-up, Minister Shaw, that the small man is being kept out. I remember recently speaking to some bus drivers in Montego Bay. They said that they can't even get to carry some of the tourists because the bigger companies take up all of them. I remember speaking to a photographer and a wedding planner as well who had similar issues. They said they have to pay when they're going to the hotel, and the fees are almost it's punitive. It's essentially they're getting squeezed.
That's part of what is being looked at, because you can't have a hotel chain that then brings their own buses. What happened to our local transport sector? These are some things that we are undergoing very careful review and consideration by the government at this time. Okay?
Okay.
Now, the young lady, you have a question there?
Yes, we'll have the final question.
There was just a part B, and this one, I can't fail to, miss if I don't mention it. Where the Chinese are concerned, a lot of Chinese people come in, they open up businesses here. The tax breaks that they get, why is it fair for them to get those 5-year tax breaks? All they do, they just change ownership after 5 years. They just change the business name, change the owners, and then another 5 years of tax break. So my question is, what incentives are there to be given to locals to enjoy those same benefits, we as a people
can develop? Let me explain something. So, first of all, we don't give incentives to anybody if Chinese or American, anybody. If they come and set up a shop, a supermarket, they don't get any incentives. You're suggesting that they get an incentive. They don't.
That's my comments are based on what I have observed and based on the knowledge that's out there. So please correct me and enlighten me where
that's what I'm doing now. The incentives that are granted are related to major infrastructure work. Hotels, building major hotels, employing thousands of people, there are incentives there. The construction of highways, the North-South Highway from Caymanas to Ocho Rios. You're obliged to grant incentives, otherwise you'd never get the investment in the first place, right? But ordinary persons coming to set up businesses, there's no incentive for that.
Right, so my question is, can, young people, if I want to go and open a business, I'm going to be here with taxes right off the bat, so even before I make my first dollar.
Take the time to familiarize yourself. There are a range of fiscal incentives that Jamaicans also benefit from. If you're going into the manufacturing sector, there are a range of incentives there. In tourism, small hotels get the same incentives that large hotels will get.
Right, so let me see if I can help you, MP Shaw. There's the notion that those Chinese, especially wholesales, They avoid paying the taxes, hence why their produces are less. They don't want to deal with check, it's only cash they deal with. You know, that, and after a while they close it down and start, the same man starts in another name, in a different location.
Because they're trying to evade taxes.
No, that's the point he's making. So why can they get away with it and one of us can't get away with it? Is the point he's actually making.
And that, sir, is something that my tax people are looking at. We have to come up with a more aggressive program of making sure that there's a level playing field for everybody. Okay? Yes, ma'am.
Good afternoon. My question is a general question, but I think like the inspector would answer it better. In Mandeville, what I understand from going to school is that from Monday to Friday, children are supposed to be in school. I just know that if you're going to university, you can pick your classes whichever day you want to go. But in Mandeville, there are over 10 or 15 kids, and that's what I've seen, who are walking around and selling sweets or asking for money, and that's child labor. I haven't watched TV in a while, so I don't know if that's a big thing on TV anymore. But what is being done about that? Aren't they supposed to be in school like everybody else? There is nothing being... I don't know if you guys drive through Mandeville. If you walk through Mandeville and you see them, they're always there. What is being done about that?
Well, that is unacceptable, right? And in times past, we used to have truant officers. Remember what a truant officer was? That, huh? Right.
No.
Just like civics.
Okay.
We don't know what civics is, right?
No.
Well, same thing. There used to be truant officers that would go around and if children on the road, if there's no proper explanation why they're not in school, then if that the role of the truant officer is to investigate it, and to interrogate it, and to straighten it out. So it sounds to me as if we have to go back to truant officers as part of the educational system. But thanks for that observation. It's very important.
Inspector, is there anything?
You know, remember what I said about human development? Well, I want to leave 2 quotations for you. And I'm begging you to write them down. You hear? Very important, right? The first one is, whatever the mind can conceive and believe, you will achieve. That's it. Whatever the mind can conceive and believe, you can achieve. That's one. The second one I want to share with you is very simple, but very profound. In the pursuit of excellence, one person can make a difference. And I want you to go home and look in the mirror and say, in the pursuit of excellence, I will make a difference. God bless all of you.
Thanks. Okay, well, Mr. Shaw has to leave us right now. He did indicate that he has to leave, but we want to wrap up as well. So we're just going to ask the inspector to answer the same question that she had asked. You had a question that they said they wanted him to answer. So just answer, and they'll just wrap up overall so everybody can just...
And maybe the inspector can also end with the scamming and the gangs issue as well.
But before you answer, Inspector, I just want everyone just to pause before I answer. Mr. Shaw has to leave. Just want to give him a round of applause and thank you so much for coming, Mr. Shaw. Okay.
So, Inspector, I just wanted you to answer the same thing.
On the issue of children on the street of Mandeville, it's also our concern. However, it should be the concern of every person within the society. A child out of school who is registered under the PAD program, the guidance counselor has a responsibility to report that child absent from school to the Children's Services Division. However, the police from time to time would have taken action to get these children off the street. But one of the problems that we have is, where do you house them? When you take them away from their parents, they are placed in places of called places of safety. And getting a child placed in a place of safety is like pulling a tooth. The agencies that are supposed to coordinate for this to happen is not coordinating as how we should. However, from time to time we take them off, and in another 2 weeks they are back. Or if those are not back, then you will have another set. It's child labor is being practiced in Manchester, and maybe because we have not published it. But what we've also found out is that persons leaving Manchester and going to Kingston, say going to the market, from time to time they'll go to Kingston, take children who run away from Glenhope, Maxwell Park, and take them back to the country. And when you go to the South Manchester and the area, you'll find those same children stripping the scallion in the farm. And hundreds of times we have taken action and get them back into the place where they are from. So we are doing something about it, but the problem is that as soon as you remove a dozen, 2 dozen return.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much for that answer. Importantly as well, there's an issue about licensed firearm holders and how they carry their firearms and not have it been stolen. I know recently a very popular figure, relative had their firearms stolen, at least 4, I understand as well. Are there concerns where that is concerned as well, that firearms may be getting into the wrong hands in the parish as well, Inspector?
Yeah, firearm has always been in the wrong hand of persons who shouldn't have firearm. And it's unfortunate that somebody lost their firearm. And it wasn't that the person was more careless than anybody else. However, from time to time, we have a problem here in Manchester where breaking is a concern. And why is a concern? Is because persons who live in Manchester accommodate strangers very easily. When a person leave Manchester and go, say for instance, to Horizon Remand Center, or the General Penitentiary, Tower Street, or the Dole Correctional Center, as we now call it, they form alliance. And what we've found out over the past years is that persons from St. Mary, Westmoreland, Hanover are breaking houses in Manchester. So it now become a trade where persons are transported into the area, accommodated, and then we have break-ins. However, we must also note that firearm is one of the main tools used in the committing of murders in Jamaica, and no less Manchester. However, Manchester has one of the better murder rates, and there's nothing to clap about this time. But so far, since the start of the year, we have had 3, and it's from the gun. Luckily for us, since the start of February, we have not had a murder in Manchester, and we are holding our finger crossed that for the rest of the year we won't have any. I hope so.
What plans then are in place to kind of prevent that in terms of to cut down on the gangs? This is the final question now, wrapping up. To cut down on the gangs, the whole lottery scamming activities that's going on is something that Mr. Phillips said, boy, him personally don't know if it. That's essentially what he was saying.
Well,
what plans on the police? Because it's really on the task.
I wonder if Mr. Phillips believes in divine intervention too. But what we find is that persons would have invested in gated community and apartments in Manchester, and they'll rent their premises to the highest bidder. Some of the persons who are in the lottery scamming in Manchester are not from Manchester. But these persons who have invested their money in real estate is willing to rent their place to anybody. And the outcome of time, wherever scamming goes, gun follows. Because they believe in protecting themselves, and they use guns and thugs around them to protect them. So we always have firearm following scammers. What we can ask you young people to do, speak to your parents, speak to your family members who are renting premises. Ask them to ask the very important question. How do you earn? Because a two-bedroom apartment in Manchester is more than 35,000 a month, you know. How on earth you gonna rent somebody who doesn't have a salary, doesn't have a job, an apartment for 35,000 and expect that person to pay unless that person is involved in some deviant behavior. We, the adults who have the money and are able to invest our money in certain things, must also ask the question, are we contributing to the breakdown of our society?
Which is the point I just wanted to make. There are two issues. One,
final words as well, by the way. So it's final words, and I'll give a final word to the councillor from Bellfield as well, as we wrap up now.
One is enforcement of the laws. We have enough laws on the books, and this is not for any one government, just for both parties whenever they take government, is putting enough resources in crime fighting and justice. If you don't do that, and enforcement of the laws is just perpetually just going around in a circle.
You find that's still a problem, the amount of money being put in crime fighting right now,
it's still not enough, no. Because if you look at the budget now, the increase in justice, if you are to take into effect inflation, you're basically zero. Because something like a 4 or 5% increase in justice in the budget now, a nominal increase in the capital expenditure, but overall budget for justice in this coming fiscal year is 4% or something like that. So if you put in inflation, which is going to be between the target of 4 to 6%, there's no increase, right? But I mean, just not just targeting on this budget, but just overall. Secondly, and it is for you that is here and those who is watching, whenever you see strange people, report it, because the increase in the break-ins, as Inspector said, is not from persons who are residents or citizens of Manchester, but it's the persons who they bring in, who push them to go break the houses. He spoke about rental. You can get a 5-bedroom house in Mandeville or Manchester for under $60,000. In Montego Bay, might have to pay $2,000 US. And Kingston. So all of them come to Manchester, and scamming is not somewhere where you have to be located in Montego Bay or Kingston to do it. You can be anywhere. You check St. Elizabeth, a farming community, and how many of them even gone to St. Elizabeth to go live. And they're doing the same thing. I have an issue in Manchester here now with the volume of used car dealerships. We probably have more used car dealerships in Mandeville than anywhere else in Jamaica.
60 of them.
There must be a reason why they're coming here. And they're catching up. I have an issue with the parish council itself, our municipal cooperation. If a man find a little plot of land, no matter where, you see a fence going up, then you see cars, you see a little office without any sanitary convenience. And we're not, the cooperation itself is not, I bet you they're not even paying the minimum business tax much as they go pay GCT and anything. Yeah? So those are some of the things. If we enough said.
I just want to take 2 minutes and I'll touch on everything, because I wanted to touch on a few things before Minister Charlotte, but I know he will probably hear the results. Yes. And the matter that MP Phillips just mentioned, we at the parish council are very concerned about I think when we did the checks, about near to 50 or 60 car marts are popping up around Mandeville. The scamming is one of the reasons why you may have so much, because these scammers will change the cars every 2-3 months. The regulations and enforcement that the MP is talking about, it is not the municipal corporation. It is more where you see most of them popping up are the enforcement to be done by the National Works Agency. Because you have a concern in your constituency at the Greenvale roundabout where you have maybe about 10 between the 2 car marts. Those responsibilities are the National Work Agency, and we do have a problem with them every single month when it comes to the parish council. Generally,
I will take that up with them.
Good. Generally, on all issues now, people are talking about crime, for example. Young people must ensure that they have a backbone. We sit here and we complain, and I'm happy for a forum like this where we have solutions coming forth. The young persons who are involved in scamming, for example, you may sit down and allow them to come to the fore. We must ensure that the young persons who are doing good are the ones that we highlight and put them on the map. And when I say the backbone that people must have, we must ensure we have a role to play to ensure that we highlight these persons. For example, in terms of training and opportunities, young persons are not paying enough attention. Training in itself right now, having a skill, is possible a more valuable thing than a degree right now, because people leave in NCU and go down a call center, go work for $20,000 per 2 weeks because you do not have the capacity or the job opportunities. But not many of them would know. For example, if somebody is a plumber right now, can earn the money of a lawyer and a doctor because you have very limited amount of plumbers that you may have. No, you can't find plumbers across Mandeville. Young persons must ensure that you can go out there and get the training and the opportunities. He said it, all of us have programs in the MP's office and the constituency. When we tell young people about it, they may have 100 sign up. By the time you have the graduation ceremony, 10 that may be showing up there. So we have a role to play to ensure that we motivate and empower our young persons as we move forward. A few issues I want to touch on before Minister Shah, he left already. Traffic is a problem in Mandeville. That has been gotten worse over the last couple of months. We are looking at that. There's a letter that was sent to him to see how, not to him, to Minister Vaz and NWA to see if we can, because MP Phillips is also concerned about it. I want them to move forward to see if we can copy him on that letter to ensure that we get the funding to re-divert how the traffic is done. Because if you have traffic congestions right through the town, it hinders manufacturing, it hinders productivity. The other thing that I want to mention, Comrade Phillips, I'm going to put, MP Phillips, I'm going to put you on notice. The young lady mentioned from land settlement in Spur Tree and roads. Young man mentioned roads that is one of the concerns. There's no road. But the one of the things that I want to mention, you have the Highway 2000 is going to start in Maype and coming to Mandeville. That is going to open a lot of opportunities again in terms of real estate, in terms of development as we go along. But water is not water is a problem across the entire. If you live in Mandeville, you may get water 1 hour for the night in Manchester. But yet still, the bauxite companies have a monopoly on the water in Porous, because Porous has about 4 or 5 wells. The bauxite company may own about half. And I'm moving a motion this month in the parish council to ensure that the government move post-haste to take over these wells that are untapped in Porous and to see how best, because we get water all the way in Pepper, which the JPS have to get a lot of money to pump it up Spur Tree. While the water, we don't have a water problem, you know. We have water underneath Manchester. We just need to ensure that we get it. But we have 4 wells in Porous that is not being used. And we have a water issue across the entire parish, some things that we must do.
All right, thank you so very much. A whole heap of issues that, you know, it's a whole heap of issues we need to deal with.
I think we need to come back again.
Oh, and before you leave, there was and the tax office we know is very inadequate because it is always full now, because the post office is beside the tax office and the post office is basically becoming non-existent because it's only utilities bill go there. We have suggested to the tax office to move over to that bigger office, but we're also making a long-term suggestion. Down where you have the motor vehicle depot, where you have about 5 or 10 acres of land, that is where you could put a brand new tax office and a new motor vehicle depot to have a one financial tax center across Manchester.
I think that's a solid note on which to end. Good suggestions. Youth of Mandeville, this has been very good. This has been very different. This has been very nice. First, I just want to thank our representatives for coming here as well. Give them a round of applause. We even have police in the audience as well, so it has been really, really good. Want to thank as well you, the youth of Manchester, for being so different, so engaging, so real. We even have speech coming from you. So clap on yourself as well. Really want to thank our sponsors, the United Nations Democracy Fund, who are funding this project right across the entire country. So if any of them who couldn't be here and doing all this, so clap them as well. The team from the United Nations. Our workshop facilitators have man like Sujay Boswell. Sujay, raise your hand, give a big round of applause. Work very, very hard. Teaching the youth. Marilyn Facey as well, who has been here, essentially my producer, guiding me, giving me the wrap-up signal. Empress Golding, the lady who said, talk up you, Miss Effie. Give her a big round of applause. She is at the heart of all of this. They conceptualize everything. The team from Pixel Perfect, led by Conrad Matheson and all of his team, give them a round of applause. Give us a presence on social media. Remember as well, if you're tweeting or on Facebook or on Instagram, use the hashtag YouthFitChat. What am I saying if I say? Youth for chat. And that's the hashtag that you need to use. And you need to
That's
follow the
it.
pages as well. Follow the pages. I have at Talk Up Youth on Facebook and on Twitter as well. I'm not on Instagram. What's it on Instagram?
Yes, and on Instagram at Talk Up Youth. And while you're there, I want to thank the entire team, Shaniel and Frederica, Romario, Deandra, Khalid, Alexi. It takes a lot of teamwork to make this dream work, to empower young people so you can be a part of the process. We're no longer uneducated. We inform, we're educated, and we have the power as citizens, and we have rights to take part in the leadership of our country. So I encourage you all to follow up. It's up to you now. We've given you access. You're welcome. So take it and run. And apologies on behalf of the other members of Parliament who could not make it. They did commit, but something came up. And I know that MP Bunting has sent a video to you because he wanted you to
Which
know
you
why.
can even view it afterwards.
Okay.
But finally, before going to take tongue two more people again, because we can't be ungrateful. If I never them people, I could not talk, we couldn't hear enough away. So thank Bruce Lawrence Production for the audio as well. And my fellow Gunner supporter, Mr. Uncle, who wearing a Liverpool cap. I don't understand what's happening right there.
Forgot Uncle.
Okay. But thanks everybody again. It has been so wonderful. It has been very fun. And keep the dialogue going. Remember, follow up with the email. Pressure them and make sure so you get things on. You have them numbers, you have them address. And the power is in your hands. So once again, Talk Up Youth, Miss Effie.
Talk Up Youth.